viral streaming, you have to rely on donations solely. So that's why someone like me is a little bit more crazier with my streams, because I'm fully funded by my audience.
I think if I get sent to prison again, I'm gonna go psycho. And I think at that point, there's no more Ramsey at that point. I feel like I'll go crazy.
I might just lose my mind. Honestly, there couldn't be a more fitting punishment for Johnny Somali than spending 8 years behind bars in a Korean prison. After racking up his 8th criminal charge, Johnny is staring down the most serious trouble he's ever faced. Yep, 8 charges. And now, even more shocking details are emerging. Apparently, South Korean authorities have reviewed footage of Johnny saying outrageous things like Japan should occupy Korea. That's not just offensive, it's outright dangerous. And at this point, Korean officials are no longer staying silent. They're taking serious steps to hold him accountable. But it's not just government authorities. The internet is lighting up too. People online are sounding the alarm, saying Johnny's still threatening others even while under investigation. Some believe he's about to be deported. There's a flood of new updates coming in, but the biggest question is this: can Johnny Somali actually defend himself, or is this where it all ends for him? Let's unpack everything in this video. If you've been following the recent developments, you already know Johnny Somali is about to be slapped with even more criminal charges. And according to legal commentators like Legal Mindset, the next one might be linked to that disturbing incident that happened on a bus. The people questioned were asked directly about a bus, so it's pretty obvious the next case revolves around that. Let's not sugarcoat it. What Johnny did in that situation was downright disturbing. It made regular people deeply uncomfortable, and there's a real chance minors were present too. He didn't just cross the line. He trampled over it. And don't forget, he's already in hot water for the Lay World situation, where even victims' parents and guardians filed complaints. If this new case moves forward, there's a strong possibility even more criminal charges will be added, because this behavior clearly isn't a one-time thing. So now we ask, does Johnny Somali have any defense left? Because if you remember from my last video, Johnny claimed he didn't commit the deepfake offenses. He blamed it on someone else who allegedly sent him those clips. And now, he's using that same excuse to dodge responsibility for what happened at Lay World. There's an amusement park near Lay World where I streamed a few months ago in September. People in my chat started sending North Korean songs through donations. That's when the police started interrogating me. So basically, Johnny's saying the police were the ones provoking him during the stream. But if you watch the actual footage, the truth is crystal clear. What really made the authorities step in? Was Johnny genuinely provoked, or was he once again creating a public disturbance? And once you see the struggle police had to deal with just to stop him, it raises an even bigger concern. Was he reacting, or was he flat out disrupting public peace and obstructing businesses? Car? I don't know what's happening. Where's the exit? I want to leave the park. But I paid money. Security said I could record a YouTube video. Now YouTube not okay? Because what even is that? When clips like this surface publicly, the debate is basically over. If 100 people watch that video, I guarantee all 100 would agree he should be held responsible. Still, Johnny keeps trying to defend himself. He insists someone else sent the song and that he didn't understand the language. So he just let it play on stream. But once he realized what it was and kept going anyway, there's no defending that. He knew exactly what he was doing. It's obvious Johnny Somali feels no shame. Honestly, if I stood in front of him, I'd ask, do you feel absolutely no shame at all? Actually, scratch that. I wouldn't want to stand near him at all. Because even people who've met him in person say, you literally can't be near Johnny Somali. He reeks. He has no regard for hygiene. At this point, it's sadly no longer shocking. People with no self-awareness or respect for others often spiral into even worse behavior. But let's get back to the point. South Korean authorities have now uncovered even more clips. This time, Johnny's seen making outrageous statements like, Japan, take over South Korea. That's not just inappropriate, it could easily be interpreted as a territorial threat. And yes, that's a huge deal. Now, major media outlets and news reports are confirming this development. Let's play back exactly what Johnny said in that infamous moment. Island? No, it's not dope. Japan owns the island. I'm telling y'all, Japan owns that island. And Japan, come back and take Korea. This is my message to the judge. This is my message to the prosecution. If y'all don't let me go, Donald Trump will. I'm saying it now. When Johnny Somali runs for party president. So what happens when the judge or prosecutor brings this up in court? We already know what Johnny will say. His classic excuse, wasn't me. My chat made me do it. Every time, he hides behind that same narrative, blaming the audience, claiming he was just doing what the stream told him. According to him, he's not the one responsible. It's the viewers who egged him on. And the logic gets even worse. He says if he doesn't do controversial things, no one donates to him. In other words, in his mind, unless he harasses people, disrespects cultures, or stirs up chaos, he doesn't make money. But let's be real, that's not a defense. That's a full-blown confession that he chose money and clout over basic decency. When you stream IRL, you depend 100% on donations. That's why I act crazier on stream, because my audience pays my bills. As a live streamer, I always push to make the chat go wild. I need those donations coming in. No chat, no audience. For IRL streamers like me, chat is God. Can you believe Johnny's still trying to spin these weak excuses? At this point, no one's buying them, and the Korean legal system definitely isn't amused anymore. They've had enough of his antics. Right now, they're preparing something serious, and it doesn't look good. The craziest part? Johnny doesn't even seem to understand how deep he's in it. He probably doesn't even know about the latest charge that's already been filed. Maybe he'll find out when the court papers show up at his door. Even legal analysts like Legal Mindset are getting worried. They're now openly discussing how many years he could serve, and the number keeps climbing. At this point, the question isn't if he'll do time, it's how much. Originally, the default was 2 years. Then it jumped to 4. Now we're looking at a very possible minimum of 8 years and 4.5 months. That would honestly be the most fitting punishment for someone like Johnny Somali. And yes, the max still stands at 12 years as per the statutory limit, so they legally can't go beyond that. But realistically, I think Johnny's looking at somewhere between 4 and 12 years. If I had to guess, 8 years and 4.5 months is where I think he'll land. I don't believe he'll get the maximum or the minimum. Somewhere in the middle makes sense. But even the mid-range is entirely justified based on what he's done. So yeah, as Legal Mindset explained, Johnny probably won't be locked up for 35 or 46 years like some headlines suggested. Korean law doesn't allow for that in his case. But an 8 to 12-year sentence? That's completely on the table. And even if he only gets the minimum 4 years, that's still a heavy sentence. Now let me ask you, do you think 4, 8, or even 12 years is enough for everything Johnny Somali has done in South Korea? Personally, I don't. I don't believe this punishment fully reflects the damage he's caused. Some might argue, well, 4 years in prison won't be easy on him. And yeah, sure, prison isn't a vacation. But still, it doesn't feel like enough. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with my view? Or do you think I'm being too harsh? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget the creepy thing Johnny said before all of this went down. He literally warned that if he ends up behind bars, he might lose his mind and that Ramsey might not survive. If I go to prison again, I'll go psycho. And at that point, there's no more Ramsey. I'll just go. This is the exact fear people had about Johnny Somali. If he had stopped for a moment and thought about the consequences, about the disrespect, the chaos, the harassment, maybe today he wouldn't be facing this level of punishment. But now, the big question is this karma finally catching up to him? Because people like Johnny Somali, who cross every line, who act shamelessly, and who never own up to their behavior, they don't deserve sympathy. They deserve to face the consequences, just like anyone else would. Do you agree with that? Or do you see it differently? Let me know what you think. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts.